So I'm 23 now, but when I was 18, I'm not proud to say I was a bit of an idiot, and often got myself into stupid situations, as I'm very friendly and confident. I'm from the UK, and drinking, clubbing, and buying your own cigarettes becomes legal when you turn 18, so I definitely enjoyed the freedom. Bear in mind I'm a 5'1" female. Petite, but with the Marilyn Monroe figure, which means I get a lot of unwanted attention from some rather inappropriate people. My friend Harry and I decided we should go to Bristol, because they have some really good gay bars. And though I myself am not gay, I have a lot of gay friends, and enjoy the atmosphere and the people I met at these venues. We arrived and met a few of our friends, and headed into the city center. Arriving and having already had some pre-drinks, we were a little tipsy. As the night goes on, we run out of cigarettes, which, when you're out and a smoker, it's the pinnacle of doom, especially as from that point everyone guards their cigarettes like they're the Holy Grail. I tell Harry I'm going to go get some from the nearby co-op, which honestly isn't far. It's about a 5-minute walk maximum. He offers to come, but myself being full of Dutch courage, I apparently think I'm invincible, so I persuade him I'll be fine and totter off on my high heels. To get to the store, I have to walk down a rather dark, small road, but there are people milling about outside bars, and I honestly have no problem getting there to find it open and still serving. After only a few seconds of being outside the co-op, a 50-year-old scruffy man approaches me. His face is pale and carved with wrinkles. He says,
"Hey there. Having a good night?"
Yeah, thanks. Yourself? I have no problems talking to people. I don't know.
Yeah. Be safe, though. I mean, I'm an off-duty police officer, so you have nothing to fear. But be careful. There are some real weirdos in this city.
Now, what he was saying wasn't weird. I'm originally from Bristol, and there are a few generally weird people. But aren't there anywhere? The point I started feeling edgy about this guy was after waiting in the queue for a couple of minutes, he keeps repeating the fact that he's an off-duty police officer at every opportunity he gets. Like he's trying to lure me into a false sense of security, and it wasn't working. My weirdo radar was going off like a siren. And then I did something stupid. I said my goodbyes and headed down the dark road back to my friends, hoping to create some distance, thinking he was just a lonely guy trying to chat up a young girl. This is where I went wrong. I walked down the road and felt this uneasy, chilling feeling shoot down my back. I kept walking, but stole a glance behind me discreetly, as to not alert whatever was creating this feeling. And that was when I saw him. A dark figure dived behind a large bin behind me. I kept looking in horror. After a moment of being frozen in place, from the edge of a bin, a featureless head started to look around the corner. I freaked and noped the hell out. I should have kicked off my heels, but in sheer panic, I forgot I was even capable of doing such a thing. I heard the footsteps pounding behind me as the off-duty police officer gained on me. He grabbed my arm, yanking me back mid-sprint, and towered over me. I was terrified, but by this point the fight-or-flight section of my mind had fully activated, and though I'm small, I hit him harder than I've even whacked anyone in my life. As he stumbled back, obviously shocked, I ran as fast as I could to a bar entrance that was only a matter of seconds away, running to the bouncer I had chatted to earlier in the night, explaining what had happened. She reared up, and the moment she came around the corner, she turned into a bloody superhero, telling him to fuck off, and if he came any closer, she would take him down herself. So I was back in a protected area, and though I was safe with my friends again, there was this lingering dread, which I soon found the location of. The man stood on the curve down the road, under a streetlight for the rest of the night, just staring at me. the light intensified his deep-set wrinkles. His eyes were wide and desperately searching until he would find me in the crowd. Whenever he did, a wide and circus-like smile would spread across his face, and he would slowly wave. Back in the mid-90s, my husband and I drove to Texas to visit family, and decided to take a few days and go to Laredo and cross over to Nuevo Laredo, Mexico, just because we had never been there, and now we'll never go back. We checked into a local chain hotel. I'm not the biggest fan of hotels. I don't trust anyone, and I'm an OCD clean germaphobe. Anyway, we get into our room, and I do a quick clean and decide it's okay to stay. We were excited to go shopping and headed across the border. Not trusting anyone, I situated our stuff in the hotel room so that if anyone came and moved it, I would know. I put the Do Not Disturb tag on the door as we left, too. When we came back, I noticed right away that someone had been in our room because my stuff had moved slightly, but it was touched. I was not happy. My husband was just like, I'm sure it's nothing. Yeah, whatever. That night it was hard to sleep. I just felt icky, like something wasn't right. The next day, the same thing happened. I booby-trapped my things so I would know if they were touched. When we came back in the afternoon, I wanted to take a shower because it was so hot. We had shopped all morning, and I was going to freshen up before heading out to dinner. Once again, we got back to our room, and I just knew something wasn't right. My things had been touched, moved just a little bit, so that probably anyone else wouldn't have noticed. I decided to get to my shower and try not to be too freaked out, and that's when I had the shock of my life. A pair of my underwear had been messed on. They were wadded up in the side of my suitcase, and I knew right away that something was definitely wrong. That's not where I store my panties. Everything has its place. I vomited in my mouth, and I could hardly speak. Thank God I didn't touch them with my hand. I grabbed a pen and moved them, cursing the whole time and freaking out that my suitcase had been violated. My poor husband had no idea what was happening, except that I was freaking out and yelling in incomplete sentences. Keep in mind I'm a germaphobe, so this is practically the worst thing in the world. Some unknown person's nastiness and bodily functions. How dare they come into my room and just jizz on my belongings? Disgusting. I marched down to the front desk and tossed them at the clerk. I yelled that it obviously had to be a hotel worker, because we locked our door. I demanded a refund, and we got out of there fast. I couldn't get out fast enough. First off, I'm just going to say I've had some really weird stuff happen in my life when I was younger teens to early 20s. I'm 32 now. I was 22 years old at the time. I'm a female and had recently met and had been talking to a guy. We were only friends at this point. His name was Shane. He was cute and had long dark hair and was into death metal. He would even paint his face sometimes. He was a pretty nice guy and sometimes would be a little weird, but he acted shy, so I never really thought anything of it. We would hang out a lot and talk and drink. He would always talk to me about how he wanted a girlfriend. Now, nothing seemed weird about him until he started talking to a female friend named Sarah from my MySpace. This was before people used Facebook. It was funny because she visited me later that day and was like, I met this guy on Facebook and he wants to date me. He's so cute. And she showed me his picture. And I was like, oh, you're talking to Shane? That's pretty cool. And they started dating. I was happy for them. Then one day, she comes over weirded out and tells me that he told her a secret. That he had a fetish, and she didn't know what to do or think of it. because she thought it was really weird and funny, and said she didn't know if she could date someone who was into that sort of thing. His fetish was infantilism. She showed me his text telling her with a picture of him dressed like a baby. She laughed, which made me laugh. Mostly the thought of a death metal dude who liked to dress up as a baby in secret was pretty funny. But she and I are both goth ourselves, so we know of some weird shit. We talked for a bit, and she decided to stay with him anyway, because she still liked him. Well, fast forward about 2 weeks. She calls me and said that he broke up with her, when and because he found out she was Jewish. He called me short after, yelling at me, saying,
"Why didn't you tell me she was Jewish?"
I told him first off I never knew, because she religiously is an atheist, and I never really cared to ask. He just keeps on yelling, saying,
"How could you set me up with a Jew?"
I told him that, 1, he had started talking to her on his own, and I had never set them up, and 2, if I knew she was Jewish and you were this kind of person, I would have just told her not to date you. This is when he goes absolutely berserk. He starts calling us and harassing us, saying things like,
"How could you let me fuck a Jew? You've made me soiled."
He would tell her she was gross and with a loose-ass vagina. It was fucking crazy. My friend told him if he didn't leave us both alone, she was going to plaster the picture of him dressed as a baby in a diaper all over the internet. It was then that he got a lot worse. We should have called the cops, but I didn't really feel threatened by him, and thought he was just a little racist shit. He kept harassing us both, so she posted his picture online, calling him out for being a racist. And he started telling us how he was going to kill us both. The calls died down after a while. But he called up my friend, saying he was going to come by tonight and stab the crap out of her fat Jew ass. She came over and spent the night at my house. Oddly, we heard nothing else from him. Neither one of us heard a call, even though 2 weeks had went by. But suddenly people started posting on his MySpace. They were posting memorial stuff. Apparently, he was driving his car towards my friend's house that day, and a drunk driver in a truck hit him and killed him. It was very surreal, because if he lived, I have no doubt he would have tried to kill my friend. But at the same time, this was a 19-year-old boy, and now his life was cut short. I guess maybe it was some sort of weird happenstance of fate. We still felt a little bit bad for him, because even though he was being a crazy piece of shit, you still never wish death on anybody. This happened to my mom a few years back. For a little backstory, we came from Miami, Florida, and moved to Asheville, North Carolina, to get away from our abusive father. My mom was working 2 jobs, and she got enough money to rent an apartment of our own in just 3 years after moving to Asheville. She quit one job and started working for the other one at Biltmore for room service. One night, as she was getting off work and heading towards downtown, she noticed a guy waving at her, as if to say hello as he was driving by opposite of her. She waved back, thinking nothing of it, and just kept driving. This guy turns his car around and starts following her. She starts to feel uneasy and takes 4 right turns to see if this guy really was following her, and he definitely was. She continues driving and sees 2 police cars at a gas station up ahead. This is the early 2000s, and we didn't have cell phones yet. She pulls into the gas station, and as soon as she gets in, the guy in the car backs up and speeds out. She gets out of the car, tells the officers what happened. The officers told her that there are guys like that trying to get women to come into their vehicles. The officers then agreed to follow my mom home just to be safe. I remember my mom coming to the door and giving me a brief statement of what had happened. She told me the whole story years later. She never saw the guy again, and we've never really talked about it since. What's up, guys? Blue Spooky here, as always. I just wanted to thank you for watching to the end of the video, especially if you made it this far. I also want to give a super special thanks to all of you subscribers who sent in stories. We finally got enough stories to do a special little subscriber-based story episode. So, to all of you guys who sent stories in, thank you very much. I'm probably going to leave out last names in the description, just for privacy reasons, but if you have a specific way that you want me to accredit you for the stories, please feel free to send me a message, and I'll change it if you want me to. If anybody would like to send in any more stories, or if you have any particular stories you'd like me to read, all of my links to my social media will be in the description below. You can go ahead and send me a message on any of those, and I'll try to respond as fast as possible. If you have any constructive criticism, please feel free to leave it in the comments below. I'm always looking for ways to improve the channel, so any feedback is greatly appreciated. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day.